me minimize this.
All right, so I think we have a bunch of people on. We could start. First of all, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to join today. We appreciate it. My name is Gali Kovacs. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at NetApp. And I'm thanking you again for joining our webinar, Achieving Cost Savings and Flexibility with your Cloud-Based Disaster Recovery. I'd like to first of all extend a very big thanks to our host today, Kevin Hill, who will be starting the webinar in just a few minutes. Kevin is one of our most experienced cloud solution architects, and he's been with NetApp for quite a few years. Some of you may even know him. So thank you, Kevin, for being here today. And before we begin, let me just take you through a couple of housekeeping announcements. The webinar will be 30 minutes long, so we are sensitive to your time and your busy day. After that, we'll have a Q&A session. During the entire presentation, everybody will be on mute. However, you can ask your question at any time, and we'll see it. You have a Q&A panel where you can enter your question. Click send, and during the Q&A session, we'll read out the questions and answer them. Questions that we don't have time to answer due to lack of time, we will email you back with an answer. Also, don't worry, everyone will receive a link to the recording of the webinar, probably by tomorrow, maybe the day after. So that's all from me. Thanks again, and Kevin, take it away.
All right, thanks, Gali. As Gali mentioned, I'm Kevin Hill. I'm Cloud Solutions Architect at NetApp. For being at NetApp for a very long time, yep, I've been here a little over 12 years and in a variety of positions, but mainly I've been focusing on the cloud and our cloud story and our cloud capabilities for roughly the past 4 years. But for today's webinar, we're going to talk about how you can achieve savings and flexibility for your cloud-based disaster recovery by leveraging OnTap Cloud. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And where I want to start off first is the data fabric, not just the vision, but the actual enablement. And this is something that we've had for at least the last 2 to 3 years. But the whole concept behind the data fabric is being able to enable you as customers to have your data wherever you need it to be, next to the cloud resources that make the best sense for you. Is that going to be on-premises or in a private cloud? Is that going to be with a cloud service provider? Is that being in a hybrid cloud configuration where you're also leveraging the public cloud? The point being is we're enabling you to have the freedom of choice and the ability to manage your data the same way across your hybrid cloud deployments. And you don't really have to worry about making a choice or a bad decision on a public cloud. You are able to go ahead and switch and use the cloud resources that make the best sense for you quickly and easily without penalty. That's our vision. That's what we're trying to do for our customers. And the reason you're attending today's session is because we're talking about disaster recovery. Now, I really don't need to go over the importance of disaster recovery with you guys. I'm sure you already know how important having a DR solution is. But just as a level set, the reason you end up having a DR solution is to protect from any negative events that may occur, whether that's from environmental, whether that's from infrastructure, whether that's from staffing or software issues. You need to keep the lights on. You need to keep the business running. How do you end up doing that? How do you meet your service level agreements? How do you maintain compliance? That's the reason you end up doing a disaster recovery solution in the first place. The key elements for having a disaster recovery solution in the first place is really these 4 bullets that I put here. Is it simple to manage and deploy? And how do I actually make sure that it's working correctly? The second bullet here, cost effective. I got to tell you guys, I've worked with several customers, large customers, and you think that they might have DR solutions in place, but the second bullet here, sometimes they're hard to put in effective DR solutions. So sometimes it's made it very difficult to actually have a DR implementation in the first place, because cost, typically when executives hear DR, that means doubling, if not tripling the cost required in order to keep the lights on. And also a DR solution needs to support all of your enterprise business processes, the things that you end up needing to offer up to your own customers, and it needs to be able to expand and grow as your business grows. So keeping in sync, having a DR solution that's a couple years old, that may not work. So just a couple of things to consider when you're trying to go and use a DR solution, especially as you're trying to go into the cloud as well. Talking about OnTap Cloud, this is where we have several customers that are now really realizing their DR solutions and deployments because of OnTap Cloud. They've had initiatives to go into the public cloud. They have had initiatives to reduce their data center footprint. They've had requirements to leverage the public cloud in ways that they haven't before. So OnTap Cloud has been available in AWS for the last few years. It's based off of our #1 storage operating system of Data OnTap. And the things that it brings to the public cloud is efficiencies that you don't normally get in the public cloud. So the public cloud is great for compute, elasticity, scale, burstability. But the one thing it hasn't been doing like we have for the last couple of decades is storage and data management. And I think I don't remember who quoted it, but the quote of "storage is hard" is kind of important, when you're actually considering going into the public cloud. But with OnTap Cloud, we're able to use our efficiencies. We're able to use our replication technologies to effectively and efficiently replicate to and from the public cloud. And there's a variety of models where you can actually do consumption. You can either pay as you go, like you would with normal offerings in the public cloud, or if you know that you're going to reap some benefits or cost savings, we also have a license model available to you as well. And we've also provided a very simple and easy to use interface with Cloud Manager to be able to go ahead and deploy and manage your resources. And if you don't want to use the interface, you can also use the APIs there. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute in a demonstration. Some of the benefits of using OnTap Cloud, again, we've been in the storage and data management business for over 2 decades. We have our mature operating system, storage operating system of OnTap. You have capabilities of effectively and efficiently doing test and development with FlexClone. You can do easy replication with our SnapMirror and SnapVault replication technologies. And you also can do integration with your on-premises systems. The tools, the processes, the procedures, the scripts that you use on-premises will just work the same way in the cloud on OnTap Cloud. And you can also, if you're leveraging our application integration pieces with Snap Managers or Snap Centers, those will work just the same as well. And you can take those processes and move them up and use them in AWS. Or across your hybrid cloud deployment, using Snap Center to manage across physical devices on premises, as well as the virtual ones up in the cloud. And it's very simple to manage via the Cloud Manager system. I'll show you that in a second. But the other thing too is that it's not hard to get started. Like you would if you're going to start and deploy a DR system, a physical DR system, that's going to take a while because of shipping, procurement, power, ping, pipe, and everything else. But if you want to get started today, you can get started in roughly, I'll just say an hour. And I'll walk you through the steps of how you'd end up deploying Cloud OnTap, Cloud Manager, and just getting things up and started. And one of the other things I really do like about our capabilities is our replication technologies. It's very, very simple. I think we do it better than anyone else out there. But you can, once you do the baseline initialization, which can also take advantage of storage efficiencies, you can be extremely fast at making sure your data is where you need it to be by only replicating the deltas. So you do one baseline and then it's incremental forever. And that's really just at the storage layer, so there's no impact to your host OS or your applications, and no agents are required on any host. It's still just done at the storage layer. What this looks like from a solution perspective, here's a quick diagram. I like this in its simplicity, but it also gets the point across. In the middle, we have our OnTap Cloud system. This is just an Amazon machine image in this example, where we're leveraging Amazon's compute resources, but we're also leveraging any flavor of the underlying storage system, storage they offer from EBS, or Elastic Block Storage. Upcoming, and this is actually kind of an early view of what we have coming. So in the release of Cloud Manager 3.1 due out at the end of the month, we're going to have 3 flavors of storage that you can pull into your OnTap Cloud system. So that's either going to be the general purpose disk, the ST1, or the SC1 disk, depending upon your needs. Now, the point here, though, is that this is still just OnTap. You get multi-protocol to serve up NFS disk SCSI to your public cloud compute. You get all of NetApp storage efficiencies available, so snapshots, deduplication, compression, OnTap encryption if you need it, and all the other components. But since it's an OnTap system, you can easily and effectively replicate data from your data center up to your OnTap Cloud system, or if you're doing your main processing in the cloud, you can replicate down to your on-premises system. And I'll show you how easy that is with the drag and drop in just a second. And I think we're right here for that just a second. So one moment while I switch over to my demo system. And okay, actually before we do our demo system, I really just want to go ahead and show you a little bit of how you get at Cloud Manager in OnTap Cloud. So I'm going to open a browser window, and I'm going to go to aws.amazon.com/marketplace. And hopefully this isn't new to you. I mean, if it is, that's kind of why I'm going through it. But this is a very easy way to go find out whatever it is you need up in the Amazon cloud. So I'm going to look for OnTap Cloud. I have it here. And I see a few offerings. Here I've got OnTap Cloud for AWS. That's actually the one I want. I've got Cloud Manager. I also want that one. But I also see I have a few other things. I have SafeNet Key Secure. So if I want to take advantage of OnTap's encryption, we use my own key management system. We have a partnership with Gelato where they have a key secure system you can launch in your AWS account. You can also use any other KMIP-enabled key secure or KMIP-enabled key management system that you want, but we do have a partnership here. We also have an HA version in AWS. We have a Bring Your Own License, GovCloud, and a few others. But the two that I'm interested in the most right now is OnTap Cloud for AWS. So if I click on this, I can see there's a 30-day free trial, some other information, some pricing based upon the instance size that I choose. But the only thing I do here is I just click on Continue to register. Now, I don't actually do anything else here. I don't try to launch OnTap Cloud from the AWS Marketplace. That's what Cloud Manager is for, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So once I'm here, I'm just going to come back. One other thing I do want to point out is once you click on Continue, that's when the clock starts ticking for the 30-day free trial. You have subscribed to the OnTap Cloud machine image, but that's all you really need to do. So I'll come back, and then let's go into On-Command Cloud Manager. Again, we have some information about the free trial. And I can look through a few other things here too. I have a couple of different deployment models for Cloud Manager. I usually end up using a single machine image, meaning I just launch that cloud management system in my AWS account. But I can also take advantage of the CloudFormation templates we have available to launch a single OnTap Cloud system volume, or I can launch 2. So I can launch 2 OnTap Cloud systems in different availability zones with NFS volumes on them and with the replications to put in place. So those are options available to you as well. Other things I want to point out is a little bit further down, resources. Here's some good information and resources for instructional videos, some other resources for documentation, and you guys can look at those later if you like. But the thing I need to do here is I just click on Continue. That subscribes me to Cloud Manager, and that also gives me an option to come into information on where I want to launch my cloud management system. You know, the region that I want to deploy in, the size of EC2 instance. I usually am still using T2 medium because honestly it's cheaper than the M3 medium. And then you can also identify your networking, your virtual private cloud, your storage, your security groups, and everything else, and then click on One Launch to go ahead and deploy that in your own environment. Now I've already done that, to save some time. So I'm going to come up to my cloud management system. So here is one of the environments. Actually, I just started this up right before the webinar, so I should have actually started these up a little bit earlier. And I see I have a few different systems here. But what I want to do first is I want to show you how easy it is to launch a new OnTap Cloud system. So I'm going to just click on Add an Environment. And here I've got a few different options. So I can create either a single node, I can create an OnTap Cloud HA system, so two OnTap Cloud systems in different availability zones that replicates the underlying storage. So in the case of there's an AZ issue, you have your data fully available in the other availability zone. And we see we also have OnTap Cloud for Azure, which is coming at the end of the month. And this is actually something that we'll cover in a different webinar, but I just wanted to point out that we do have OnTap Cloud for Azure as well. So to go through things quickly, though, I'm just going to click on a single node. I'll provide this a name, Cloud Star. I don't remember if I have one or more. I can click on Add a Tag. So some customers told us that, hey, we have a script that will go through our environment, AWS environment. If it's not appropriately tagged, it'll actually destroy it. So I need to put in a cost center and then add in whatever appropriate value. And then I need to pick up my data security. So here is where I can pick either no encryption, I can use AWS managed encryption, or I can use OnTap Cloud managed encryption. And this is where, if you remember when we looked at the AWS Marketplace, there's a key secure system I can configure. I haven't done that for this cloud management system, but if I did, that would allow me to use the key management system for encryption of my data aggregates. I'll go and use the AWS managed encryption. And now I'm put into selecting my virtual private cloud or my network where I want to deploy my OnTap Cloud system. So the thing that I need to make sure of, so one of the things that Cloud Manager does is all the underlying AWS resources. So it deploys the Amazon EC2 instance, it deploys the underlying EBS disks for my boot, root, and data aggregate, the logical interfaces. And then once those resources are up and available to me, Cloud Manager then goes in and configures NetApp. It goes and configures OnTap on that OnTap Cloud system. So it configures the cluster itself, the storage virtual machine, the logical interfaces, the data aggregates, everything that you need in order to have a fully functioning system. And so that way, I need to make sure I pick a region, a virtual private cloud, and a subnet that my cloud management system can talk to. So by default, I'm put into the same subnet and VPC where my cloud management system is. This actually works for me. I could actually choose a different region. I actually have a VPN, a software VPN set up between my East region and my West region, so I could actually go ahead and deploy in US West if I chose. But I'm just going to leave it in US East for now. And then I'm going to choose the size of system. So this is where I come in for licensing, and we've got 3 different flavors, well actually 4. So 3 different flavors as pay-as-you-go. So I like to usually call these small, medium, and large, but we have Explorer, Standard, and Premium. And we also have a license model. So Standard is typically the most common one that gets deployed. So I'm just going to leave it with this one. And this is where we can also choose the size of instance type, the EC2 instance type. And that EC2 instance type, if you're not aware, covers 3 different things. It actually covers the amount of virtual CPU you have. It covers the amount of virtual RAM or virtual memory you have. And it also covers how much throughput you get on those EC2 instances. So the larger you go, usually the more you get. But the larger you go, it's usually more, it's also increasing the hourly charges for the AWS resources. So I'm going to pick the R3X large, click on continue, and support. This is where we have NetApp support site credentials, so your NSS ID. So if you're an existing NetApp customer or partner, you could go ahead and put in your NSS, and then when the OnTap Cloud system is fully instantiated, it'll go and automatically register that system for support. Now this is optional, so if you're not a current NetApp customer, you can skip it, and I'll just skip that for now. But we do enable the ability to automatically register those systems if you choose. Here is where I'm going to put in a password and identify the type of disk I want to use. So give it a good password. And I can either choose general purpose or solid state or magnetic disk. I can also choose the size of disk that I'd like to use for the underlying data aggregate. I'll leave it as 1 terabyte for now because I want to use it for my DR purposes. And I can create a volume. This is where I can just go use the volume wizard to create a volume on that OnTap Cloud system. Now, since I'm using this for a DR destination, I don't really need to create this, so I'm actually going to skip that for now. But if I was using this for test dev or just trying something out, I can create my volume here quickly and easily at the same time. So we now have a review and approve. So what are the details for our OnTap Cloud system that we're trying to launch? And okay, OnTap Cloud, I want 9.0. Yep, that's the information that I want. Okay, great. Now I'm going to have to confirm a couple things. I understand that in order to activate support, I must register with NetApp. Yep, I skipped that, so I get it. And I understand that Cloud Manager will allocate the appropriate AWS resources to comply with the request. What this means is that once I click on Go, the meter starts running. That's when I deploy the AWS resources, and I'm going to start receiving AWS charges. If I'm taking advantage of the NetApp's 30-day free trial, I won't receive any NetApp software charges, but all existing AWS resource charges will still apply. And if I want to find out more about what those are, I can click on more information, and I can see the underlying information here about what's making up the charges. So I've got disks for boot and root for the OnTap Cloud system. I've got one-to-many for my data aggregate. I have 2 AWS EBS snapshots for recoverability. And then I've got the AWS EC2 Elastic Cloud Compute instance as well. Okay, so that makes sense. And actually, before I click on Go, I always like to point out that we have APIs. So everything with Cloud Manager is built on top of our APIs. And if you'd like to see the API request, that's pretty easy. Here's the post request. So, and here's the API that I'd be using against Cloud Manager programmatically through some sort of REST call. This is the JSON request body to say this is what I need to use in order to go and use the APIs. I just would end up copying this. Well, I'd copy that, and then I can click on the online API documentation. This would open up a new browser, and we could actually then go use that API and paste that request body in the API and initiate the and launch the OnTap Cloud system that way. I covered that in a video that I mentioned before, and so we're not going to go into that right now. But also, if you have any questions, you can click on the intercom, and then you can actually talk to one of our experts if you have questions. So let me go and kick that off. You can see that that one's initializing. But the other thing too we're talking about DR. So what I really want to do is I want to discover one of my physical systems. So while I can create an environment, that's great, but I want to discover. I'm going to go and discover an existing OnTap cluster that I have. So the management address is 192.20 and oops. Bear with me if I can't fat finger this. And an on-prem system. And click on Go. So that's all I need to do in order to discover the system. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I need to make sure that I've got a VPN connection between my AWS network, my virtual private cloud, and my on-prem system. So once I do have that networking established, I can definitely quickly and easily discover any of my existing OnTap systems and manage them via Cloud Manager. If I want to look at this one a little bit more, pull up information, I can look at the volumes. Okay, good, that finally came back. I've got a few different volumes here, AWS Loft sessions. I've got ability to do look at other things here. I can actually go through and create new volumes if I want with the same kind of wizard. But what I really want to do is I want to replicate my data up to my OnTap Cloud system. So this is an OnTap Cloud system that I've used for a couple of different SQL demos. So what I really want to do though is come back over here, and replication becomes as easy as a click and a drag. So I'm just selecting my source system, and I want to actually identify my destination system. So this is an example of me going from my on-premises system to my cloud. Vice versa, I could actually go from my cloud back to my physical system if I wanted. But let's go through the wizard. Now I just identify I've got the different intercluster lists on my physical system. Click on continue. Let me search for the volume I want to move. So let's do source. And what was it? ENG. Yep, there's a source volume I want to try and move. Confirmation of, is this the right volume? It looks like it's storage efficient. That's great. And now I can also identify the destination volume name. So here I just want to go through and identify DC2, source vol. I can also choose options. So on the destination system, automatically pick the best aggregate. That's great. If I have multiple, it'll actually pick the one with the most capacity and availability. I can also identify a transfer limit if I want. In this case, I just want to go ahead and get my data up there quickly. So I'm just going to leave it as unlimited. And now I can pick whether or not it's a snap mirror or a snap vault. For DR purposes, I want to use a mirror. If I was going to do more things like archive, I can use a snap vault. I'll just select a mirror policy. And a schedule. How often do I want to do this? Well, since it's for my DR purposes, it's probably not going to be one time. I'd probably use that more for test dev. But my DR requirement is I'll just pick it for every 5 minutes. It depends on how I want to use this. And I also need to review and prove because this is my source system, this is my destination system, and I also have another confirmation. Depending upon how much space I'm going to consume on my OnTap Cloud system, Cloud Manager may need to deploy another underlying EBS disk to support the aggregate. Now, in this case, I can look at more information. I don't need any additional disks. If I did, it would actually show me how many here. But I understand that could happen. I click on Go. And the replication relationship is being established underneath the covers. And that's going to take just a minute to establish. And let's see. Actually, I don't really have any right now. But, oh, the peering relationship has already been put in place. So those steps have been taken care of. And for anybody who's actually worked on NetApp systems to establish a replication relationship either manually via CLI or via, I want to say, System Manager. Typically I've used the API, so I've ended up using WFA. But I got to say, this click and drag saved me at least 7 steps, if not more, just for establishing the relationship. Oh, I see that it's actually been put in place. We go look at our replication status. We see that, okay, it's there, it's healthy, it's currently transferring. And I've got other abilities to do other tasks here. But that's how easy it is to replicate your data from a physical system up into the cloud. Now, just to recap a little bit about some of the DR benefits that we have here is using OnTap Cloud for your DR destination is that it's going to be cost effective. NetApp storage efficiencies are something you can't get on native public cloud storage. You pay for what you provision. If you require 10 terabytes, it's going to be 10 terabytes. Now, for those of you that are familiar with NetApp storage efficiencies of snapshots, thin provisioning, deduplication, and compression, let alone if you're using flex clones, you know that you can reduce your overall storage requirement underneath the covers. So you're not really consuming as much as what you would in the public cloud. You can also take advantage of our very efficient bandwidth. You have the one-time full replication, and then it's incremental forever. But that full replication also takes advantage of storage efficiencies. So again, it's very cost-effective to either go into, or you now have a much better option of being able to come back out of the public cloud if that meets your needs. And more importantly, since this is in the cloud, you will end up changing some processes. The biggest cost is if you end up leaving those instances running. So if you're using Amazon or Azure or the public cloud in general for your DR destination, when they're not needed, turn them off. That way you can reduce any of your other costs that you would have for your DR solution. And you can even turn off your storage. We have some customers that will end up turning off their OnTap Cloud system, and they're only replicating once a day. They'll end up having a script that will identify, we need to do a SnapMirror replication, let's go turn on that OnTap Cloud system. They'll do their SnapMirror update, and then once the update is finished, they'll turn off the OnTap Cloud system to reduce their overall charges. And they'll only turn on everything when they either need to test it or when they need to try and actually leverage it for DR. And this is just really, really slick solution that many of our customers leverage in order to meet their needs. And one such customer is Cordant Group. Cordant Group, based out of the UK, actually came into OnTap Cloud when they were doing some data center consolidations after they did some acquisitions. and they were trying to leverage the public cloud. They were given a mandate that they needed to go in and use AWS. Well, they first started trying to move their SQL databases up into AWS's RDS, but based upon the age of their deployments, they're actually running Windows 2003 server, by the way, it didn't really fit very well within AWS's newer versions. And they also weren't, their staff also didn't understand how to leverage RDS as opposed to leveraging Snap Manager systems that they're used to using on premises. Well, enter OnTap Cloud. OnTap Cloud enabled them to simply and easily replicate their data up into the OnTap Cloud systems. They're able to go ahead and use the Snap Manager product suite with their SQL servers to do application consistent and transaction consistent point-in-time recoveries that they were used to doing on premises. So they didn't need new staff. The staff that they had was able to manage their on-premises solutions as well as manage their solutions up in the cloud. And this helped Coordinate Group meet their initiatives and also changed from an overall CapEx model to an OpEx model, which resulted in significant cost savings. One of the call to actions that I have for you guys is that, try it out. As mentioned earlier, OnTap Cloud has a 30-day free trial. Once you go to the marketplace and click on the continue button, that's when you first start subscribing. So I would say if you want to take advantage of the 30-day free trial, only click on continue when you're ready to start. But you can go ahead and get started quickly and easily and get up and running in less than an hour, with your OnTap Cloud system, with your Cloud Manager system configuration. And then once you have the VPN in place between your AWS VPC and your on-premises network, that replication and DR process is that simple click and drag functionality via Cloud Manager. I showed you how you can actually look for Cloud Manager or OnTap Cloud in the AWS Marketplace to go and find the solutions very easily. And we also have an email distribution list if you want to try and contact us outside of the webinar. So NG NetApp Cloud Architect Support at netapp.com. And one of the best sources of information for you today is really using cloud.netapp.com. So cloud.netapp.com is going to have all the information about our cloud solutions and services. And you can find much more information if you just go to cloud.netapp.com, look through our products, our solutions, our partners. We have different videos to actually help you guide you through the solution sets that we have. And there's also numerous white papers and technical reports available there as well. And with that, I know that was probably a little quick, but I did want to try and keep this to around 30 minutes. We can start with some Q&A. So, Gali, I couldn't actually keep the chat window open on my screen, so I don't know if any questions came in.
Some came in, Kevin, thanks. Great demo, great presentation. Let me just start reading them, and let's take it one by one. The first one is, does OnTap Cloud use AWS S3?
So does OnTap Cloud use AWS S3? Short answer is no. We don't use AWS S3 on the covers. AWS S3 being object-based, OnTap really, or the waffle file system for OnTap requires that we can, Gali, you've got a little bit of background noise. Thank you. So the short answer is no. We don't end up leveraging AWS S3 for OnTap Cloud. That said, we are working on some upcoming features and capabilities that will enable some auto tiering between an OnTap Cloud system and AWS S3 that's coming out in a few months. And the other option would be to maybe leverage a product service, I should say, a data service that we have. It's called Cloud Sync. Cloud Sync will actually help you synchronize your NFS file system with an AWS S3 bucket, so you can use other services from AWS like EMR, Elastic MapReduce, or Redshift, or RDS, depending upon what your needs are and how you want to leverage your data. But I would have to say that the biggest question, or the reason that people have asked about AWS S3, is because of the price point, because it is cheaper than regular AWS GP2. But I did mention that we are going to be supporting ST1 and SC1 disk types for EBS, which are on par, if not priced better, than what you get from AWS S3 perspective. Were there any more questions, Gali?
Yeah, I'm going to jump to the next one. We have about 5 more minutes left. You covered moving the data. What about the compute?
What about the compute? Okay, so yeah, so great point. I mean, what we've talked about here is NetApp and the data fabric and how we enable you to have your data next to the compute resources that make the best sense for you. To be clear, we don't cover moving the compute as well. Now, that's been a little bit of a concern or a challenge for some folks, but there are several third-party products or other vendors out there that offer either services or solutions for converting your compute and importing it into the public cloud of choice. You know, typically it's going to be AWS or Microsoft Azure. There's other solutions that are available for IBM software and Google Cloud Platform. But if we just focus on AWS and Azure for a moment, there are several other partners out there that will end up trying to convert your VMware or Hyper-V form and make that available as machine images in your AWS or Azure accounts. I do also want to mention that if many of you may not be aware, but at VMworld this past year, about a month and a half ago, VMware announced its partnership with AWS. And actually, I think they reaffirmed that about a week and a half ago. So VMware, who said they weren't going to be partnering with AWS about 3 years ago, have now reversed that decision and said they are going to be partnering with AWS. And if some of you have been keeping your ear to the ground, there's also an announcement due out today from AWS and VMware about something that they're going to be offering very soon. My hope is that they're going to be offering some form of running ESXi in AWS, and that solves all problems. You know, that way, well, maybe not all problems, but it solves, you know, the question of how do I move my VMware VMDKs, RDMs, and use them in AWS. Now, if they do offer that, that's going to be fantastic. It matches and marries very, very well with our data fabric and the ability to use something like OnTap Cloud in AWS. You just replicate stores, and then if they do offer that, all you have to do is point to those data stores and start using your compute in the public cloud. So I'm really hoping that that's what they announce later today. Golly, anything else?
I'm going to combine a couple of them as the last question to answer today. How do I purchase OnTap Cloud? How do I renew my BYOL? And what's included with my OnTap Cloud purchase? Maybe just a quick summary.
So how do you can you go through that again? How do you purchase OnTap Cloud? Was that the question?
Yeah.
Okay, so you purchase OnTap Cloud in 2 different ways. One is going to be through the AWS Marketplace, and that's going to be as a pay-as-you-go model. And also when you use Cloud Manager to deploy the system, you get a selection of the Explore, Standard, or Premium options, and that gives you different pricing for overall underlying capacity, and also there's the associated AWS EC2 instance types. There's also a bring your own license model where you can work with a NetApp partner or NetApp representative to purchase a license for OnTap Cloud, which you can deploy using Cloud Manager as well. So as far as what's included, you get, when you deploy OnTap Cloud, you'll end up having the underlying AWS EC2 instance. You'll have the supported storage underneath the covers. You'll have the network interfaces, everything that you need in order to use it as a fully functioning system. And within OnTap Cloud, you also get all feature licenses. So instead of having to worry if you have NFS or CIFS or iSCSI licensed, or if you're licensed for FlexClone, those are all in there. So you don't need to worry about it adding any additional feature licenses. You get all of NetApp's value prop right when you start up the OnTap Cloud system. And did I cover everything you were asking, Golly? I kind of went on a little bit of a
I
tangent, I
think
think.
maybe just, well, how do I renew my BYOL? I don't see who asked that one, but you just contact your sales representative. What's included? Maybe a couple sentences about the support. I think that'll be a good segue to finish. And then I see a couple more here, but we can email them. We can take them offline.
Okay. No, that sounds good. So yeah, so support is definitely included with all OnTap Cloud systems. I should have mentioned that in addition to the feature licenses. You simply just need to provide an NSS ID. So if you're not a current NetApp customer, you can simply register with your OnTap Cloud system serial number, and you can get your own NSS ID, and from that point forward, any other OnTap Cloud system you deploy will automatically be registered for support.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. We're about 45 minutes past the hour, so I think we're perfect on timing. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. A recording of this webinar will be sent shortly. And have a great day. And thank you, Kevin, again.
All right, thank you. My pleasure.